Hey, here we are. POB Thursday at 12 noon every Thursday. You can check out our live stream and our podcast brought to us by The Difference, which if you have not yet, make sure you go on and join their Facebook group. So they'll give you alerts about our show and the other great shows they have, and go on and check out their YouTube. When you go on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and hit the thumbs up, that right there, and they will let you know when we're on next. I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you about what's coming up for POB. I know everybody is super excited about our show today, as well as myself. So we have tonight, we're going to be at the Lincoln Day dinner at South Fork Ranch that we're excited about. And then on Saturday, hold on, I got notes. Saturday, with the Texas Freedom Coalition, we're proud to be part of their clay shoot. That's in, I got it here, Fossil Point, Decatur. I kept wanting to call it Fossil Ridge, but it's Fossil Point. That's going to be on Saturday. So if you can make it out, come on out. POB is going to be there. Our guest today will be there. It's going to be a fun time. Get out there and shoot some clays. So what more could you ask for in the state of Texas? And then for everybody asking when we're going to get out of the state of Texas, March 5th in Marshall, Arkansas, we're going to be at the Veterans Hall for a POB event between 4 and 6 p.m. We're super excited about it. What is his name? Brett Causey has taken the ball and ran with it. He's put an ad in the newspaper. We have some delegates and Congress people from the state of Arkansas. They're going to come out, speak for a few minutes. So we're excited to expand out into other states, which we've talked about forever. So Arkansas is going to be our first out-of-state stop for a meet and greet in Marshall, Arkansas on March 5th. All this info I'm giving you is on our Facebook page. You can go on there and just go up to the top of the page where the search bar is and type in Arkansas, March 5th, Texas Freedom Coalition. That'll all pop up. And obviously, as many of you know, if you have any questions, just send me a message. I will answer it. And then on April 11th, with the Undaunted Warhouse Initiative, we're going to be doing a golf tournament, it is on a Monday, and it's at the Buffalo Creek Golf Course in Heath, Texas. And we're working on trying to get 3 teams for Patriot Owned Businesses: a red team, a white team, and a blue team. Which, red, white, and blue, I'm sure you got that figured out. I'll be on the red team. We have a team already sponsored for the white team, which is with Brian Linden, which owns WealthWave. And we're working on our blue team right now. So we're super excited about that. And that's it for that one. Woo! So make sure you go on and join The Difference, which supports Patriot Owned Businesses. And I know everybody is here today to watch our next guest, which we are excited about. Let's see. And then, of course, next week on March 4th, we have Shelley Luther, which is another small business owner that went through some struggles here in the state of Texas. So we want to make sure we have her on to talk about what she went through and what she's doing now. And then we're going to do some roundtables on how American small businesses can impact against large corporations. So make sure you stay tuned. Watch our past shows, which we've had Bob DeBono, which is a comedian out of New Jersey, that does a great Trump impersonation. We've had Operation Texas Strong, which is part of hashtag POB Gives Back. for what they're doing for veterans on the streets. We've had Joel Medina. You definitely have to watch that show to the end and watch the video that he does, or the song that he does for against Joe Biden, or Joe B. Maybe I shouldn't say Joe Biden. Let's see. Okay, that's it for that card too. So without further ado, and I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this in the announcer voice, if that's okay. So London, get ready. So we'll bring them up. Everybody knows Johnny Cash live from Folsom Prison. So I'm going to announce this in a different way. Let's see if I can do this. Me. Okay, I got it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome comedian, talk show host, online influencer, entertainer, and live from Facebook jail, Chad Prather.
Tim, you're a weird dude, man.
Well, you know, I have my moments.
Yeah, you have your moments. It's good to be with you, buddy. How's things going?
I'm doing good. Actually, you're a black screen, so you messed something up.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe nobody wants to look at you, but that's all right.
I don't know. Well, let's see what
I can see him. Here. I can see him good, Chad.
Let's see if we can see the camera. Let's try it again. How about
well, I guess it doesn't matter if I see him or not.
I can see him.
You may not want what everybody else does.
Hey, there you go, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're super excited to have you on the show today, and I am greatly appreciative of things that you've done for Patriot Owned Businesses, coming out to our events, supporting things that we do, like supporting the tornado victims and that. And today, with which I do have a few questions that I'll ask you, but we'll wait to the end. But a lot of people want to know actually who Chad Prather is.
That's a good question. I'm 49 years old. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Went to school, University of Georgia. I moved out to Texas 21 years ago. I'm 49, like I said. And I found out that coming out of the world I was in, I did a lot of nonprofit work in my early adult years, and traveled around the world, spent a lot of time in third world countries doing medical work, mission work, humanitarian aid work, and a little bit of time in the corporate world too, and in an executive role with a Fortune 300 company. But then I've always kind of had the gift of gab, the ability to say things fast. I'm a pretty good salesman, so and always found humor in just about everything in life. And so I wound up doing radio and television, and out of that, I found this amazing medium called social media, specifically Facebook and YouTube. And I had this idea. I said, I was kind of a pioneer in this. I said, if you've got these social media channels, you could be your own television station, in essence, if you could get people to watch it. So I started putting videos out, started putting them out in the truck, because I'd be riding in traffic and thoughts would cross my mind. I'd make a video and post it on Facebook and YouTube. So one thing led to another, and it kind of grew. It grew into the world of podcasting, and as well as doing live entertainment. And then wound up on the Blaze Network, which is where I am now, doing a television show, which started out as a podcast. Now it's a 4-night-a-week show. And I've always, politics has been a big thing to me. Finding humor in politics has always been big thing to me. I always said, if Washington, D.C. will keep writing the jokes, I'll keep telling them. So I got to a point, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit, but I got to a point in 2020 where I said I can either keep talking about politics and making fun of it, or I can actually get involved. So I threw my hat in the ring. I was the first person to throw my hat in the ring as a primary candidate and contender for the governor's race in 2022, which is what I'm doing right now. And of course, we're about 4 full days away from Election Day in Texas, which is March 1st. And I'm also, I've been a Patriot owned or a Patriot business owner as well. We've got 22 T's. We've got our Unapologetic apparel line. Been involved with numerous different things in terms of influencing and sponsoring, and these hats that I wear right here, American Hat Company. I've been an influencer with them for about 7 years, and a great partner that they've been to me. So yeah, that's kind of been the impetus of everything that I do, is supporting locally owned, small, Patriot owned businesses. And that's one of the reasons I love what you do, Tim. I appreciate Patriot owned businesses and what you guys do. It's a noble cause. It's a God thing, right? What you guys do is a thankless job. In some ways, it's misunderstood. People don't understand why you do what you do, but I think that you're onto something here that I believe, as we talk about the parallel economy and how we've got to embrace that more and more your organization is going to become that much more relevant to people, because let's face it, the globalists have taken big companies and big corporations away from us. In fact, they built them to begin with. So we're in a lot of trouble when we consider where our world's headed in terms of us being able to maintain what we consider a first world American lifestyle.
And that was a great opening statement. I could have done it any better myself. As many people watching or know, I consider myself a friend with Chad beyond politics or anything. We've had some amazing conversations, and that's, Patriot Owned Businesses, since we started it, has brought this community, this whole community and everybody together, where you actually see people that you can trust. I trust Chad. I trust many of the people that I've met. This is beyond politics, which I want everybody to understand what POB is for. We're not a political organization. We don't support anybody individually. Or as a group. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. But myself, I do support somebody. And you can check that out on my Facebook page, which is kind of relevant. Anyways, we'll get past that. I've had some very in-depth conversations with Chad. And one of the things I found really interesting, which is what I wanted to touch base on before we hit our first break, was I asked you one time what you did before you got into this, and you told me a very interesting story about being a veterinarian. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of vet work, and I discovered that I was better at running my mouth than I was putting my arm up a cow's rear end. So it's the same level of BS. It just comes out a different place.
So, and that's a set of cojones, man. If you can take something from a steady job like that and decide that, hey, I'm a funny guy.
Well, everything I ever did in any world, whether it was with animals or in the corporate world or whatever, I did it because I felt like there was a cause to it. My mission worked the same way. I've been involved. People don't understand. I mean, I've done everything from pulling teeth to pulling babies in third world villages. And it's people don't understand that because we don't have a point of reference of how the rest of the world works, right? You take a medical team into some of the villages in places everywhere from Honduras to up in the mountains in Philippines to Nigeria, which I spent extensive amounts of time in West Africa. And these people literally have nothing. They have nothing. I mean, they don't even have a sharp knife in some cases. So, you go in there and it gives you a real perspective of how the world works. And that might be part of the reason that I love this country so much, and specifically love Texas the way that I do, because we are so blessed. And, God's really had his hand on us as a country for a number of years now. And I don't know why, but sometimes, God's grace is unexplainable. But here we are. And, we're in precarious times, I'll put it that way, with President Brandon in the Oval Office, or whatever basement he's hiding out in. We see what's going on in Ukraine right now with Putin and Russia. We see what's going on with China and Taiwan. And, you pray that God's grace hasn't left us. And so these are humbling times.
And that's, it's amazing that we have the opportunity to be free Americans, and we support freedom. We support the Constitution. We're all conservatives, for what we believe in. Actually, Lyndon, if I'm right, we have to take a break right now. And then when we come back for the next segment, We're going to dig into what Chad has been doing, pre-politician work, and where he's at, and some shows that are coming up. So you guys make sure you stay tuned. We have Chad Prather, and I probably have to change my hat so I can match up with this man over here. Anyways, we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, utilizing our attorney-backed processes and only charging clients if and when results are obtained. This is how we have made the difference for over 10,000 clients and counting. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
All right, so we're back in the beautiful Patriot Owned Businesses area of Plano, Texas. Which we are in Texas. Make sure you guys stay warm. As you can tell, I got a little fire going today. Did have to go out this morning. If you don't have to, don't do it. We're back with Chad Prather. If nobody knows who he is, make sure you check out his videos. We'll make sure that we load up all of his contact info and where you can watch those. But now, I know you've been a comedian and online influencer, and I think you're going to part the Red River here pretty soon is your next step. When you got started in, doing your comedy and the ragamuffins and what you've been doing, was there a point in the last 2 or 3 years, which I know you've been very successful what you're doing? I've been watching you for a very long time, even before I met you, that it kind of gave you, like, where you got hit and you realized that America or even Texas is not what you thought it was?
Yeah. I was doing a television show yesterday. Somebody had me on. It was a news program, and they said, we always thought, America, we always looked at Texas and we knew that Texas was a very conservative state. And it wasn't until the pandemic and the shutdowns that so many people started wondering. I said, no. Grassroots conservatives have known that we're in trouble here in Texas for a long time. I knew we were in trouble as a country when I watched the debacles. Well, I mean, you could go back years and years, but specifically, I knew we were in trouble back in 2015 and 16 when all of these people were running for president of the United States on both sides. I made a video at that point in time. I was on the side of I-20 in East Texas. I pulled over on the side of the road. I just had to get it off my chest. That's how a lot of these videos come to be. And I said, trying to figure out which person to vote for president is like trying to figure out which venereal disease you're most okay living with for the next 4 to 8 years. And I didn't realize, I didn't know Trump. I didn't understand Trump at the time. We wound up with Trump, and I'm glad we did. But then you see this massive divide that's going on in the country. And then you see this massive overreach and bureaucracy that the government is doing and really affecting our lives and taking away our priorities, taking away our liberties, taking away our rights. And so I was already pissed at that. And then when it started happening in a big way in Texas, specifically in 2020, I was really miffed because I thought, it'll never happen in Texas. We're safe here. We're safe here. Conservative values are going to win out. Big government's not going to have its place here. And then that changed, right? And I saw a little migration starting to move that direction. And then in 2020, when it hit, I was like, that's it. I've had enough. This is bad. And now you see it where it's to the point where if you give us about 4 to 6 years with the trends of the way we're spending money and the way government is growing and the overreach and just various taxes that are happening, our border issue, we're going to look just like California in less than a decade. And that's just a statistical fact because of the way things are going. You do the math and it adds up to California. And that really bothers me. And then 3 weeks ago, when Ron DeSantis in Florida said on the television, he said in a press conference, he said, "Welcome to Florida, the new Texas." I'm like, I don't like being a joke. I don't like being I tell jokes, but I don't want to be the joke, right? I don't want to be the laughing stock of the nation, of these people who think they're so full of pride and so full of independence and liberty. And we're just a joke statistically and categorically. So I'm pretty passionate about this, Tim. And the more further we go, I think I've created a little bit of a wake there. I'm currently, as you alluded to earlier, I'm in Facebook jail, 4 days away from a primary election, and I'm one of the three main primary contenders to Greg Abbott, and I'm in Facebook jail. This is election interference, and we're filing a petition today with the courts against Facebook, and we're going to go further than that. But for right now, we're going to file a petition to at least get me reinstated on Facebook, because there's no reason for me to have this ban. There's no reason for me to be in Facebook jail. And I can get a little PR out of that for a day or two. But after a while, I mean, when that's my main stump platform to be able to get a message out, I'm not able to do it. So that's what I mean when I say this government overreach. And it is the government. It's not just small business or big business or Silicon Valley or multinational corporations. These are industries that are funded with taxpayer funds. We're the number 2 subsidizer of Facebook in the nation. Greg Abbott gives Facebook $165 million a year in order for them to do business in Texas. So this is government overreach in this regard. This is silencing the mouth of your opponents. It's election interference. It's election meddling. There's no wonder in Texas that they pushed election meddling down to a misdemeanor and took it away from being a felony. So, those are the kind of things that motivate me, man. And I'm more fired up now than ever before.
And that I would truly believe that is, I've seen you speak in person, quite a few times. I've seen Greg Abbott. I've seen Alan West, or not Greg Abbott, Don Huffine, sorry. Speak in person. And I guess I'm old school when it comes to the fact that when you're talking to me up there, I want you to talk to me.
Right.
And that's very important to me, that, and probably many other viewers and, Patriot Owned Business members, that even though you're on a platform where you're speaking to hundreds or thousands of people, talk to me. Don't talk to the mass. We already get the mass talk. That's already going on in Washington.
Right.
That's no good. With that, even seeing you outside of the political realm, doing your shows, it still seems that no matter what anybody thinks of any of these candidates, they're all great. They all get along. That these are true Texans, which I know there's people watching from other states, and you're watching Texas just like we're watching the Ukraine right now. That Texas is just like the Alamo is today. We're the last stand.
Good point. It's a great point.
You have to appreciate the fact that being around this situation in the state of Texas, which I'm sure it goes on in many other states, I've never seen it, which I've never been political before, which that's another story, but you see 3 great patriots in the state of Texas right now that aren't just concerned about Texas. They're concerned about America, because we are the last stand. You lose Texas, we're done.
Yeah.
You got yourself, the other 2 candidates that have taken time out of their personal lives, have taken time out of their businesses. I mean, you as an example, and this is what I was trying to lead to with my soapbox here real quick, was you're a very successful comedian, very successful musician. The things that you do online has been outstanding. I mean, my mother, which you met her once, has been a great follow of yours, which I don't know why her thing was about the dog, but that's another, we'll do that next time. That the state of Texas, I mean, you've always done this.
Yeah.
With the political part of it, but how has what you're doing today, sitting in your truck in this great storm of Texas that we never have, which if you do lottery, bet on the last week of the weather in the state of Texas, you'll win.
Yeah.
That you can go from that, which is your living. That's how you make a living, that you support yourself and to what you're doing now, how has that affected your personal, work, what you do for a living?
Well, let me go back to where you started on that originally. You're right. When you talk to people, and I've done that my entire life. I was on television for the first time when I was 3 years old on a local ministry television show that was I was quoting Bible stories, 3 years old. And so I've always been running my mouth. I've always said that I'll talk to anybody that'll stand still or walk slow. And people have always said, do you not get stage fright? In fact, Mary Catherine Huffines, Don's wife, she asked me one time, she said, do you ever deal with stage fright? And I said, no, it really doesn't ever cross my mind. Because the reason is if I'm in front of it, and I've been in front of 100,000 people, Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ivory Coast, I was in a soccer stadium, 125,000 people. I've spoken to 125,000 people, and then I've spoken to, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. But it doesn't matter. I treat that audience like they're one individual person. Because if I can have a conversation with you individually, then I can talk to 1,000 people. It's no big deal. I don't treat it any differently. But it's changed a lot. I've been on stage. I've been able to make people laugh. I was always the motivational guy that made people laugh. And then they didn't care if I was motivating them or not, as long as I was making them laugh. And so it's cost me a lot. I went from being in 35 states a year on average, 150 shows a year. You could do the math on that. That's a pretty good payday every time you go do one of those shows. I've lost audience. I've been censored. I've been taken away from my ability to go make an income. I've been criticized. People say, oh, you're doing this for publicity. This is not the publicity you want. I mean, I get criticized and dumped on every day because now you're in the political arena. I was talking to my friend Graham Allen, who's running for Congress in South Carolina. He said, we were always a trumpet for conservative values and everybody loved us. But until you start running for office, then everybody wants to criticize you because now you, in a way, they think of you as belonging to them. And I've always pushed back and said, no, look, we're gonna fight and we're gonna lead by serving. And so if you don't like the way I'm serving you, well, tough, you can serve yourself then. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do the best that I know how to do and try to make things right. So, I still love what I do. I don't know that what I've done as a career will ever be the same again. So I don't know, we still go out and do some live shows because I have people who work for me that they like to get paid. So we still have to go out and do some things and do business. We still have to sell T-shirts. I've been selling T-shirts for 30 years since I was in college. And it was a side business that became a real business. And people say, oh, he's just after selling T-shirts. Well, I've been selling T-shirts for a long time. I assure you that running for office does not help me sell T-shirts. Going out and being funny makes you sell T-shirts. Going out and having a good time with people, creating a lifestyle brand, that does. Politics does not help you sell anything. People are dumb if they believe that. But we've got a show tomorrow night, Greenville, Texas, at the Texan Theater, which is a beautiful, gorgeous place. Barbara Horan over there, she's got an incredible venue. Hadn't been there since 2016, so we're going to be there tomorrow night. And dinner theater, it's nice, but that's like we've only done 2 shows in February. I canceled my shows next month, March. They were going to be in California. One, I really didn't want to go back to California yet. And normally I was in California 16, 18 times a year. Very supportive state of what I do, the people there. But we canceled it because the venues in the cities were requiring vaccine passports in order for you to come to the show. And I said, there's no way I'm going to ever make somebody get a medical procedure in order to come to one of my goofy shows. So we canceled them. We canceled another one in April in Salina, Kansas. Same reason. So I don't know that I'll ever go back to doing what I did. And for one reason is because I'm so dadgum passionate about what I've seen in Texas politics. I want Texas to be free. I want Texas to be first. I want Texas to categorically and statistically lead in every way. And we don't lead in anything. We don't lead in anything in the nation except for number 1 in property taxes in metropolitan areas. That's it. And that's not good. So, I'm in this fight, man. I'm in this fight for for freedom. I've never been, I'll tell you this, I've said it before, but I want to say it again on your show. I've never affiliated with a political party. I always said that I never would. I've always been conservative values, and therefore Republicans are what appeals to me. But I'm far more libertarian in many ways. In some ways, I'm socially liberal. I'm fiscally conservative. So I'm an amalgam of things, right? But people automatically, they see the cowboy hat, they see the white face, they see the pickup truck, they see the dog in the back seat usually, and they automatically think, oh, he's just a redneck with a narrow mind. He's a far right-wing insurrectionist. I'm anything. Couldn't be further from the truth. Look, I'm represented in LA. My business manager is a Jew in Hollywood. My entertainment agent is a gay Cubano. I've had Hispanic and Black producers for years. My main photographer is a Black guy, and on across the board, we've got tons of women that from all backgrounds and ethnicities that work for me. And so, it's like, it's the dumbest thing in the world. I'm just a person. Everybody wants to put you in a box. They can label you. They can put you in a box, put you on a shelf. They don't have to deal with you. But I love that you're labeled like Patriot Owned Business. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting when you deal with a Patriot Owned business, somebody that's affiliated with you. You know where their values are. You know where they stand. And as my friend Weston Martinez says, he's running, of course, for land commissioner. He said there's two kind of people in the world today, in America. He said, and it's not Republicans and Democrats, it's patriots and traitors. And that's 100% the truth. You're either constitutional or you're a traitor. If you don't want to fly by the words of the Constitution, then you shouldn't be doing business on American soil. That's why I've consistently said Texas needs to be a constitutional sanctuary state, and let's do things constitutionally right here, or else it doesn't do business on Texas soil. So I don't know how things will change, Tim. I really don't. I know that if I rebuild, and that's exactly what it'll be, rebuild those businesses that I've done, we'll see how it goes. But I don't know, we're in this race, we're in this thing, we're in this conversation, and March 1st is going to be a very interesting day when we see what happens.
Man, I bet it is. And I tell you what, everybody watching, stay tuned. We still got some great show to come up. We're going to continue this conversation, but we're going to take a break here for about 2 minutes. We'll see you.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, utilizing our attorney-backed processes and only charging clients if and when results are obtained. This is how we have made the difference for over 10,000 clients and counting. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
Hey, I think the show, did I change? Oh, yeah, okay. So we're going to continue our conversation here with Chad Prather. I figured I would Texan up here real quick. I can't express enough to thank you for coming on today. It means a ton to me. It means a ton to Patriot Owned Businesses. We're going to take the next 15 minutes to kind of talk about what you started on, and we'll finish it. And then I do have, and then in the last segment at the end of our hour, I have some questions to ask you that people have been blowing us up about, but we'll get into that. Anyways, which it looks like he's frozen on my end anyways. If you can see him moving, great. Maybe it's because I changed my hat.
How about now? I'm waving.
Okay. There you go.
So that works.
A lot of people don't understand that. How can I say this friendly? You cannot agree with this person 100% of the time. I don't agree with them 100% of the time. But if you can agree with what they're wanting to do, at least I would say 60, 70, whatever you want to put it at, then go with what your mind is telling you and your heart. I mean, I don't even know how to say this the right way. Anyways,
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
You're better at this than I am. I should have just let you lead the show, and then I would just sit in the background and go like this.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem, and see if I'm close to the target. Culturally, we've gotten away from critical thinking. People don't know how to think critically. They don't have any complexity of thought. So if you use the scientific method, you start with a hypothesis, right? And then you work through the steps of trying to come to a proof. Well, along the way, you're going to make mistakes on the way to that proof, right? You know, Edison failed however many thousands of times on the light bulb. So you're going to get it wrong, but that's part of the process of critical thinking. And sometimes I know for me, you have to think out loud. All right. And we've come to a place where that we think that, you know, you're supposed to take 248 characters on Twitter and completely, just have all the facts right there in a tweet. When it's just a thought, right? It's just a tweet is just a thought, but we think in terms of, or an observation, but we think that's supposed to be a definitive statement. And so you say these things, whether it's a Facebook video or a YouTube video or a podcast or whatever, and sometimes you're just thinking out loud. So honestly, I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. And so we've gotten to a point where it's an unfair analysis to say, well, I don't agree with him. Well, maybe you don't agree with certain things, or maybe you didn't agree with something that was said at some point in time, but you might have been that person was in the middle of a critical thought and trying to work something out from a hypothesis and come to a conclusion. He was just doing it out loud, and you heard it and you drew a definitive definition or takeaway from that. And that's just not fair. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? We think that somebody's, as soon as they open their mouth, they put the tweet out or they put the Facebook post out, then that is a definitive statement. That is 100% what they believe. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no context. There's no describing it. There's no illustration to it. It's just bam, that's it. Gospel red letters of Christ. And that's not fair. We got to get away from that. We got to get back to this, what was it? The Bible says, the prophet said that God told him, come, let us reason together. And that's what we need to get back to, is being able to dialogue a little bit. And, the Socratic method of coming to a philosophical conclusion. So we've lost all of that stuff, man. And, again, my shtick has always been this, Tim. I'm way more educated for what I do. All right. I've got degrees, I've higher education, all this stuff. And unlike a lot of people now, I actually utilized my time in college on the university setting. I actually would take professors to lunch, right, and spend time in their office picking their brain on issues that fascinated me. We don't do that anymore. Now it's just about getting a degree so you can get a job. I actually wanted to be educated. So I grew up in the country. I grew up, hats like this and boots like I'm wearing right now. That was just what I wore. It was my life. And so, people say, oh, he's born in New Jersey. Well, I was born in New Jersey. That's just where my mother was when she went into labor and had me. But we didn't live in New Jersey. We didn't stay there. It's just, she had me, and then we went home to Georgia. But I grew up down in the country, way down in the country. And I always tell people, I said, I'm so country. I got a cousin that got arrested for selling chicken salad sandwiches at a cockfight without a food license. And that's country right there, bro. That's country. There's certain things growing up in a mobile home park you don't have to worry about, like ghosts. Like, you don't have to worry about ghosts haunting a trailer, because if you die in a mobile home, you're not coming back to that stuff. But I grew up in the country, and I like, people think my accent is fake. They have no idea how muted my Southern accent really is. If I go back home and get around my family, y'all ain't going to understand anything I'm talking about. So this idea that this is a fake accent, like I'm Larry the Cable Guy or some kind of BS like that, stupid. But I love the fact that people underestimate me, right? You put the hat on, got the jeans on. That's why I got custom suits. I can put on a tie. I could have gone to these candidate forums. I could have done all this stuff, same as Don and Alan. That's not who I am. It's not who I am. I said it right up front. I said, I'm just not going to do that. I'll put on my jeans and a sport coat and come in there and I'll talk to people. And I don't want you to lose the message because of the package. So it's been interesting, just trying to be yourself and stay true to who you are and get a message out there. But a lot of times people kind of misunderstand that because they see you and they think, oh, this guy doesn't have any answers. But then when you put some out there, they immediately judge you and say, this guy doesn't know anything. So it's a journey, man.
And and we'll do a quick plug real quick. If you want to support Chad Prather, not only in the political end, but his small business, which is a member of POB. Chad, what's the websites that they can go onto?
Well, my business website, my tour, my store, everything at watchchad.com, the most vain web address on the planet, watchchad.com. We've got a new website that's coming out March 1st. It'll be 22Ts, 22tees.com, 22tees.com. And it's interesting. It's not just that I'm running for office in 2022. I played baseball. I was a baseball player for a lot of my life, and my jersey number was 22. And then, of course, our studio at the Blaze is Studio 22. So the number 22 just kind of follows me. And we also do a lot of veterans. I'm a veteran advocate. I do a lot of benefits for veterans and serve on boards and various things, or have before I was running in this race. I had to give up my board assignments because of the campaign. But 22tees.com, of course, takes its name from a lot of those things.
And you can find that on Patriot Owned Businesses also. We've shared, people have shared, his websites to go on there and get those shirts and that. Again, and this, I want to express that Patriot Owned Businesses, when people ask me, how come you're not supporting this, and this, it's Patriot Owned Businesses. This gentleman right here is a small business owner. His life was before he decided to run for governor. Even before I even met him, I went to a show.
Yeah.
So there's still a life out there besides that. Understand that this is what he does for a living. He's a comedian, an influencer. He's our talk show, which, like he said, was on the Blaze. He's been out to events, not just for political events, which, again, and I've thanked you for this, but he's been to 2 of our events. Once he came and spoke, and as generous as he is to an extent, as he brought the Ragamuffins out to an event, which supported a veteran organization that time, which was the Operation Texas Strong, which helps veterans get off the streets and find a home, which was on our show a couple of weeks ago. So, and probably why I like I said, I got a list of questions here, but the stuff that I've seen online and people talking about this show is obviously geared towards you running for governor of the state of Texas. Some very interesting questions that they've had, which if it's okay with you, in our next segment, I'll get a couple of them to you and you can hopefully answer them. I've even had people from your organization to try to answer them, but it hasn't quite worked out the way I expected. But anyways, I just want everybody to understand that POB stands for patriotism, not just politicking or a certain business. In we can't even say, we'd say 1773, that when they started this, and everybody was talking about patriots and patriotism, it didn't matter who you were, what you did. You don't agree with them. That's where this started. Now in 2022, we're back at it, that we are patriots. If I tell you something you don't like if my favorite movie is Deadpool and you say you hate that movie, and because of that you don't think I'm a patriot, you can kiss my ass. Because I will guarantee you that I am 100% patriot, like this gentleman that's sitting here talking with us today. So if you disagree with me on one thing and try to pull that off as we not being patriots of the United States of America, you're full of crap. You know what? We'll take a break because, I'm going to get fired up, and I don't need to do that on the show. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back for our last 15 minutes, ask Chad a couple of questions, go through that, and you guys stay with us. We'll see you in a few minutes.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, utilizing our attorney-backed processes and only charging clients if and when results are obtained. This is how we have made the difference for over 10,000 clients and counting. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
All right, welcome back to the Patriot Owned Business Podcast and live stream. We're here with Chad Prather. Obviously, we didn't get to as much stuff as we had. We got about 15 minutes left on this show. We could actually have just posted this as a Jerry Lewis marathon for as much stuff that we could have talked about. We touched base on what he does personally, what he's done in the past. And again, any of this stuff, you can find it online. But probably one of the biggest questions that I've seen, and you can address it or don't address it, it's completely up to you, is about the vaccine. And I would never ask you a question that people have posted, but this has been wearing me out. So there's been multiple posts in Patriot Owned Businesses, which, again, going back to what I said in the first segment, do not downgrade somebody and tell them that they're not a patriot because you disagree with one thing they've talked about. Let them explain it. Talk to them. This man's been all over the state of Texas, just like the other three have. Ask them. You can walk up to any of them and ask them a question. But we'll address it now. And that'll be the end of this little portion. But Chad, we've had a few questions regarding your past video about your vaccine questionnaire or mandate or whatever you felt with that, which I know you've came out and said something else, but I want you to say it.
So back in, what was it, July of 2020, I made a live feed video on a Sunday afternoon, and I was trying to talk about the merits of homeschooling. Anybody that watches my show, the Chad Prather Show, they know that almost every episode I talk about the public school system and how you need to get your kids out of it. I was talking specifically about that. And of course, you've got a lot of questions that are coming your way on that, on different things. And somebody asked about, should your kids be vaccinated? I don't remember the exact question, but should your kids be vaccinated to go to public school? What I was trying to do in that is explain from the state's viewpoint how your kids are viewed by the state. According to the state, yes, your kids should be vaccinated. If they didn't believe that, then they wouldn't make it a thing, right? They wouldn't require an exemption. So I was basically saying, yeah, you know, my ex-wife, she's a nurse practitioner, pediatric nurse practitioner. I was using her as an example. I know a lot of people in the pediatric community that say, yes, your child should be vaccinated. And so I was saying, from the position of the state, you should vaccinate your child. And if you're going to put your kid in public school, you got to play according to their rules. Of course, everybody came and said, well, you can do an exemption. I said, but the sheer fact is you should not have to file an exemption. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to ask permission of the state before you do anything with your child. You should never have to do any of that. So I want to remind everybody that I got into this race in July of 2020 because of mandates. I'm anti-mandate. I'm vaccine choice. I don't care if you get vaccinated. I don't care if you vaccinate your kids. But at the end of the day, I'm pro mandates. When you demand somebody to do something, especially when it's your kids, then that shouldn't be a thing, right? You shouldn't have to do that. So my issue was saying, this is how the state views you. This is how the state views your kids. They want you vaccinated. And if you're going to if you're going to keep putting your kid in the state's indoctrination centers, then yeah, you probably should just vaccinate your kid because those are the rules. Otherwise, you need to do what you need to do, and that is pull your kids out of these indoctrination centers and educate them yourself. So a lot of people were saying that I was saying that basically your kid's a biohazard, or that your kid should never be allowed to go into public schools or should be kept out because they're going to make everybody sick. No, that's not the point at all. I'm saying if you're going to keep going by the state's rules, then go by the state's rules. Go by the state's rules. This is what the state wants. And then everybody says, oh, but I can file an exemption. Why in the hell are people continually trying to play by the state's rules? I don't want you to have to file an exemption. I don't want there to be an exemption at all. Having to file that exemption means one thing: the state is in charge. The state gets to give you permission. And people say, oh, well, it's no big deal. I fill out the form, I have it notarized, and I send it in. Listen to all you just said. You had to print a form, fill it out, sign it, have it notarized, send it to the state for their eyeballs to put on file regarding your child. Now, tell me why in the world that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense. That whole process should be abolished. If the state is going to provide education at your taxpayer dollar expense, then you should be the one who has the final say in how that state school is run. In 1917, the Bolsheviks came in and they took over in Russia, and they took kids out of the home. They put them in orphanages in order to train them to be communists. And then they became recruiting centers for the KGB. So those kids that they took out of the home became great interrogators and even executioners. So what we got to do is stop letting the state take our kids from us. They're brainwashing our kids. If you don't want the state's rules, then don't put your kids in the state schools. Don't do it. That's one of the biggest things that I'm fighting for. Now, what I've come out lately is I've said, look, I did a poor job of trying to explain that. People say, oh, he's backtracking now. No, I'm not. I got into the race. Listen to me clearly. I got into the race July 2nd, 2020 at 7:20 in the evening via Twitter, sitting across the table from Donald Trump Jr. because of the state's mandates that were being handed out by Greg Abbott. Now, do you think 2 weeks later, I'm suddenly just going to change my mind? I'm going to declare that this is the reason I'm running for governor, and then I'm going to change my mind? So you have these people that no matter what I say, they're never going to receive any other answer. I even had Jackie Schlegel, Texans for Vaccine Choice, on my show. Sarah Gonzalez, who was one of the founding members of Texans for Vaccine Choice. Numerous times I've been with various people from that organization. I've even been with those people on the Capitol grounds. So I know the fight. I know what they're up against. I know what they're dealing with. And I'm the one guy who's actually fighting it. I just did a poor job on a live feed video on a Sunday afternoon trying to play devil's advocate and show them from the state's perspective how they see your kids. So it doesn't matter. Like, Tim, you can answer this question 1,000 times. 1,000 times you can answer this question. Those people out there that are 100% anti-vax, they're looking for somebody to crucify. They're waiting on an apology. Well, here's the thing. I've got a whole brand called Unapologetic. I'm not apologizing because, first of all, I didn't hurt you personally. I stated something. Maybe it was not communicated well, but I didn't hurt you personally. And by the way, these are the same people who got pissed off when Joe Rogan came out there and apologized. You don't go out and apologize to the mob just because they say you're supposed to. No, I have 100% consistently had the same position that parents need the final authority when it comes to their kids. And if you watch the full video, not a clip, you watch the full video, you'll see that that's exactly what I was trying to express in terms of homeschooling. So, you know, it was a side issue. They jumped on it. They made me into, you know, they tried to martyr me on that whole thing. And it is what it is. So that's my position on that deal. I mean, my record stands for itself. Anybody wants to watch the Chad Prather show, you can go back and watch the one with Jackie Schlegel. I think it was episode 409, 408. I think it was 409. And you can go back and look at that and see what I'm all about. But again, people say, oh, well, they were spoon feeding him questions. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. I just admitted that I did a poor job of communicating the thing. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Believe it or not, that happens.
You know, and thank you for answering that, which I'm sure there'll be questions brought up, and I'll just forward them to you, and you can answer them when you get out of your Facebook jail. But
I've answered them ad nauseum. There's no answer at this point. And let me tell you that group that's going to continually, and I'm going to piss them off again, but that group that's going to continually question me on those things, there is no answer for there's no answer that's going to satisfy them. There is none. As far as they're concerned, I'm accursed. It doesn't matter. I made my mistake July of whatever 2020 in miscommunicating something. I tried to clarify it as many times as possible. But I will tell you this. I am the one guy who has consistently and nonstop and using every platform I have fought for parents' rights.
You know, and it should show proof at least in the state of Texas, that we're so concerned about what we're dealing with now because of how all three of you do get along. Obviously, you don't agree with each other 100% of the time, but there's not been any mudslinging. We're just trying to accomplish one goal, the freedom of Texas, which in turn is going to be the freedom of America. You know, and people got to see this. If I don't agree with you 100% of the time. It's impossible. You don't agree with me 100% of the time. That's the luxury of being an American, is I have freedom of choice. I have freedom of speech. I can express things however I want. But if you agree with me, that small percentage of the time, we're making a difference to stand together, which is the biggest problem on the conservative end. And Patriot Owned Businesses is everybody trying to stand together. Then if you don't like my hat, my shirt, you don't like his hat, his sweater, you don't like what he talks about, that's fine. And don't think that we're pulling away from anybody else. Come together. That's why we keep getting our ass kicked.
True.
Because conservatives cannot band together. The hate on the other side bands together because there's only one hate. On our side, we have so many things that we want to believe in that as soon as you get that one-sided part, they break apart, which this kind of goes back to, like I was asking about the vaccine thing. If you don't like that part about him, that's fine. He explained himself. He stands for what he believes in, just like Don Huffine stands for what he believes in. Greg Abbott stands for, or never, I was going to say sits for what he believes in. And Alan West stands for what he believes in. Don't automatically assume that you have to hate this person or take their patriotism into consideration. They're all patriots. We're all standing for the same thing, that we all want to further Texas. I mean, this gentleman here is taken away from his own personal life and income to try to save Texas, which is what we need, which is what we're all trying to do. And then I'll get off that soapbox. So I'm going to ask you some random questions, and you just have to fire back real quick.
Bring it on.
All right. If you could have dinner with one person, living or past, who would it be?
Donald Trump.
That's the third time I've heard that one.
Yeah. I want to talk, and I've talked to Trump before, but I want to talk to him again. I got some things I need to say.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a doctor.
You were close.
That's close. Well, I was a better doctor. The thing about vet medicine is you gotta know all the anatomies, not just one. It's a harder to get into and go through.
Hey, I get an arm up the cow's butt.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
On the comedy side, it would have to be Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? On the drama and action side, it would be Gladiator.
That's two good choices.
Yeah.
When you grew up, did you get spanked, grounded, or both?
I got spanked. There was no grounding.
Yeah.
You might walk for a week. That was grounding enough. But yeah, I got spanked.
I wish I got grounded. I'm not even going to ask the one about who the best president was. We'll get past that one. If you had a time machine, what historical event would you attend and why?
Well, that's a good question. That is a good question. My gosh. On the religious side of things, I would love to have a time machine and go back to the resurrection, right? The resurrection of Christ. But on a more modern thing, I think I would. Gosh, that's a hard one, man. That is a hard one. I think I would like to be, at Kitty Hawk and watch the Wright brothers take off for the first time. That's always been a fascination of mine. That
is a great answer to that, because I would have never thought of that. Mine would be go back and watch them sign the Constitution.
That'd be amazing too.
So we're getting close on the end of our time. I want to thank you so much for being on the Patriot Owned Business Show. Again, if you want to find out more about Chad, basically go on to Google or DuckDuckGo or DuckDuckGoose, whatever it's called. Like in Chad Prather, you'll find everything you want. But make sure you follow us on Patriot Owned Businesses. We're trying to make a difference along with patriots like this gentleman here. And if you say he's not a patriot, I will argue with that 1,000%. Along with anybody else, I stand behind you. How can they get a hold of you again? What's your websites?
WatchChad.com. And then also, for my blog site and daily news site, you can go to ChadPrather.com. And of course, for the campaign stuff, you can go to Prather2022.com.
And then I know for a fact that Saturday he'll be out there at that clay shoot.
Yep.
Fossil Creek or Ridge. I just keep wanting to say Creek.
Fossil Creek. We'll have fun out there. It'll be a good day. And then I've got, again, the show in Greenville Friday night. And then we have a fundraiser in Dublin at Lucky Vines Winery on Saturday night.
So make sure you get out there and support. I mean, if you don't agree, again, with Chad 100%, get out there and support whoever you want. But these three gentlemen are doing what they can do. I can't say enough for you being here with us today. I appreciate your support for Patriot Owned Businesses. I got to go over to American Hat Company and get me a real cowboy hat in Fort Worth one of these days.
Get over to Best Hat Store.
There you go. That's where I'm going. And I'll make sure I use your name, if that's okay.
Wait, tell them Chad sent you.
There you go. Chad Prather. Anyways, everybody, thank you to Chad Prather. Thanks for everybody watching. Make sure to follow POB. Find out what we're doing, where we're going to be at. We're always out and about. We do appreciate everything you're doing. We support everything that has to do with patriotism, and I really do appreciate you coming on today and your friendship and everything that you do. And my hat's off to you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Tim. Take care, buddy.
So as I say, my final sign off will be, don't just be an American, be an American patriot. We'll see you in the future. Love you guys. God bless America and God bless Texas.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, utilizing our attorney-backed processes and only charging clients if and when results are obtained. This is how we have made the difference for over 10,000 clients and counting. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential